All right. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is just as a quick refresher. This is just a quarterly, as of right now, check-in that we like to have with our Martus clients, and this is just a nice touch point to kind of serve as an office hours type of concept where uh, I just have a loose script of things that I go through, talk about new features that may have come out recently in Martus, and some stuff that new stuff that we've learned, new stuff that we've seen across our client base that might be helpful to share. And it's really just an opportunity for other people, or all of you who have joined, to ask me questions, and we can make this kind of like an impromptu show me how you do this type of session, or let's discuss how we do this. So in the chat, if you want to ask me questions as I go, please go and type into the chat and share your questions in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on that, or we will be keeping an eye on that to answer your questions as we go. But if I don't have any questions that pop up, I'll just proceed on and kind of walk through the script that I had. So one thing I wanted to kind of lead off with is some of the new features that have come out as of late. Now, there's always little tweaking and tuning things that get released month to month and quarter to quarter. But one of the things I wanted to share in particular was if you log into Martus, and if you go into this support button right here, you're going to see this block of text around this report builder assistant. So what this is, or what Martus has done, and I'm trying to figure out when they made this open beta and when they kind of released it out to the public. But over the summer, Martus released this AI report builder concept where if you opt into it, which you can opt into it again through the support button, and then there's this, I believe there's a checkbox or a button that you click on after reading this to indicate that you'd like to subscribe to it. It's no extra cost. It's completely free. It's just a tool that you can take it or leave it. But the neat thing about this is that it's an AI report. It's in pretty much an AI prompt that you enter in, say, hey, I want this report built, and it will do its best to build that report for you. Now, like with most AI stuff, it's not going to be 100% accurate, but it'll get you at least a good start on the reports. And I think this is a helpful concept for people who may not be building reports in Martus on a regular basis. So sometimes you just need a little bit of a start to get rolling there. So anyway, again, if you're curious about what I'm about to show you, you go to the support button when you're logged into Martus, and then there's this area under Report Builder, Assistant Consent, and you can subscribe to it there. Okay, so what this does is this will enable, if we go into this Report Builder app, underneath where it says Dashboard, I go into here, and I will go ahead and add a new report right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and call this 918 AI report test. All right. So what this is going to do is this is going to open up a new report page in the Martus Report Builder application. But the thing it's going to add is it's going to add up in the upper right corner a little button that says Report Builder Assistant. It's 2025, it's late 2025 now, and at this point, a lot of people have gotten at least a little bit familiar with some of these AI tools and AI chatbots in particular. It's the same concept here. You input what you like, and it does its best to generate what it is you're looking for. So if I look over here, I have this page that says report generation, and I can enter in something into the prompt here to describe what I want this report to do. So I could go ahead and just type in what I want there, or I could pull up like an example here to get me started. So I'm just going to do something super simple to start, and then we can get more complex as we go, or if you all want to see specific applications of this. But I can just go ahead and say, Please give me a report with year-to-date actuals. With year-to-date actuals, accounts down the rows, and we'll just do funds across the columns. Please compare to the active dashboard budget. In this context, if you're not, depending on how familiar you are with Martus, the dashboard budget is the budget version in the system that you designate as like, this is my default reporting budget, essentially. So that's why I use that terminology. So, all right, let's go ahead and generate this. And it may take a minute. Sometimes it takes a minute, sometimes two. We'll go ahead and give it a moment. But pretty much what it's doing right now is it's just taking what you've input, and it's, there's an AI algorithm in the back that is trying to understand what you're asking for and then translating that into the settings in the report writer. Now, this tool isn't going to like break the rules of the report writer module itself or the tool itself. So, it can still only create reports that the report builder application has the ability to create. But still, again, it's a great tool for people who might not be making reports on a regular basis, or you just want to save 30 minutes to a half an hour to get at least a decent start on your report. So we'll go ahead and let it think. And of course, the one time I'm demonstrating this, it says report generation failed. I did this 5 times prior to the launching of the meeting, and of course it failed when we are broadcasting and reporting on this, or recording on this. So you gotta love that. So I'm not sure why it failed exactly. Let me go ahead and pull up this one though that we created earlier. So this was one of the ones I created before the meeting. This was one where I pretty much said, hey, I want a report that shows my accounts down the rows, and then across my columns, I just wanted to see kind of like a summary of my 2025 like best case grants awarded budget, and it breaks it out by month. And then provides a year to date here. So again, of course, when I go to actually build a new one, it failed on me. But I can go ahead and give it another try with another one. I just wanted to encourage you all, if you have any questions in the chat, or if you wanted to address something in particular, that you can go ahead and do that now. Yep. All right. So I'll just say, please give me a report with year-to-date actuals by fund across the columns. All right. So while that generates, and again, I don't want to stick on that topic for super long, because who knows, if it fails again, of course, we don't want to stick around trying to get it to work if it has like a temporary downtime or something like that. But other things I wanted to talk about really quickly here. Other than that, really, that's kind of the main new thing that's popped up as of late. A new thing that's popped up as of late that's been released as part of Martus's releases. One thing I did want to encourage you all on is, so this series that we do, this kind of quarterly check-in, is really similar to what Martus also has. Martus has a Watch Me Work webinar series that if you log in to Martus and go to the welcome page, you will see that they already have sessions here scheduled. So you can see that this new year in personnel series has already come and gone. But they're going to be talking about allocations on September 23rd and 24th. And then they have this one called Martus Essentials for End Users for September 30th and October 1st. So if you want to gain some additional knowledge around Martus, something that they offer as a benefit, you can register right here. Okay, cool. We'll go ahead and go back to here. And there we go. So this one's kind of boring because I only have two. It's a demo environment. It only has a little bit of data, but I went and asked the report builder assistant. I wanted a report that showed me year-to-date actuals broken out by fund. So I have one column here for the general fund, and this one for Fund 401 for the Health Initiative 1 grant. So this is just a start. If you want to take it from here, you can edit the individual columns that you want. You can add sections and columns as needed from there. It's just a way to get you started. So just wanted to shout that out. Okay. So I think with that, I talked about that's kind of the main feature that has been released that's really relevant across all clients of ours since we spoke last. I have a general script of I just was going to go through pretty much beginning to end, starting a new budget inside of Martus and adding worksheets and doing work in the budget. But I did want to open up the floor, and I'll pause for a few seconds here. Any areas that any of the clients and or prospects on the call, anyone, do you have any requests as to what you want to see before I go on that? I'll go ahead and stop talking for 10, 15 seconds to check to see if anyone has anything in the chat. All right, I don't see anything in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and just proceed on with my originally planned kind of workflow here. Again, feel free to, if you send a message in chat, you're not interrupting me. I encourage you, even as I'm working, to post questions in the chat. All right, so we're in a point of the year where we do have some clients who are if they're on like a September year-end fiscal year, they are, well, I mean, probably they would have worked on their budget already, but we have clients all over the board with their fiscal years. We have some that are heavy in budget season right now. We have some, and even those on calendar organizations, they're probably already planning for calendar 2026. But let's just go ahead and quickly walk through the basic workflow of spinning up a new budget and ultimately doing some budgeting and doing some reporting and all the other features that you might want to use. So under this planner section, this is where you're going to go under where it says planner setup. And we'll go ahead and create a new budget for 2026. Let's just say this organization I am working in is a January fiscal year start. So let's just say we're working on our 2026 calendar budget. All right. So I don't have any budgets in 2026. So again, under planner setup, under budget management, I'm going to go ahead and click on 2026 as my budget year and then say create budget. And I'll just call this 2026 budget. All right. So you give it a name. It's assigned to year 2026. And we have a few different methods that we can pick here. We can either create a budget, copy a budget from a prior year and just, take the budget numbers and copy it over. You can copy budget and actuals and create a new budget. So this would be one where you take a prior year budget, but you also take prior year actuals, and the prior year actuals kind of overwrite the budgeted numbers. So, let's just say we're working on a calendar year here. I could select this one that says copy budget and load actuals, and the budget that gets copied over is going to be, January through August are going to be closed months. So, those months are going to have all their actuals in. And the new budget that we're creating here, the January through August would be populated with prior year actuals. But then, like September, October, November, December, the months that are still open, those would be from the prior year budget. So this one's kind of like a mix concept. Or if you want to just start completely from scratch, you can create a completely empty budget. So there's a lot of different options that you have. Yeah, there's a lot of different options you have here. Let me go ahead. I'm just going to keep it super simple. And I'm thinking exactly what I want to do here. I'm just going to keep it simple and just copy an existing budget from a prior year. So I'm just going to use the method of copy budget. And then for my year, I want to copy a budget from 2025, my prior year in this context. And then I want to take, I want to make a copy of, we'll just do this budget right here. So just because we may have a mix of maybe experienced users and new users or even prospects of Martus, I wanted to just quickly talk about some of the terminology here. So kind of the basics here would be, and I alluded to this earlier, if you see a budget designated as the dashboard budget, like this one right here, this one dashboard pretty much assumes that this is the default budget for reporting. So all of your budget versus actual reports would be pointing to this. So if you run budget versus actual reports on an ongoing basis, most likely they're going to default to this dashboard budget. But you may also see in brackets here what's called the planner budget. The planner budget in this context is pretty much the default budget that you are currently working on. So the way that you can translate this is the dashboard budget is like a completed, locked, you're currently using it for a reporting budget. Planner is more, we're not using it for reporting yet necessarily because we're actively working on it. A single budget can be both the planner and the dashboard budget. But anyway, I wanted to quickly speak on that. And that's all I have to say about that. But there is also then a checkbox, and this is available for the other options of the methods as well. But under advanced options, you can kind of pick and choose what you want to copy. So by default, it's selecting everything to be copied over. So pretty much it's asking, do you want to copy over all of your worksheets from your prior year budget? Do you want to include like all of your various line values or line notes? So like a good example of this would be, let's just say I want to copy over all my values from the prior year, but I wanted to get rid of any notes that people may have left in last year's budget. You can uncheck the line notes option, and I imagine in most cases you'd want to bring those forward, but the thing is you have the option whether you want to keep them or not. Okay. And then you also you can decide whether you want to copy over the various owners of these worksheets, approvers, things like that. So you can kind of pick and choose what you want to bring over. Just to be on the safe side, I'm just going to bring over everything. So I'll just, have everything checked and then click on create budget. All right. So generally what Martus does is when it performs an operation, it gets submitted for processing and it kind of puts it in a background queue to be processed. This is just a common strategy that a lot of softwares use so that it doesn't eat up your current it doesn't use up your active system resources. So, if you're making a huge copy of a budget, it's not like bogging down your system, right? But anyway, I can go ahead and click on where it says view task progress here. And by the way, if you want to see the status of like all your different like integration processes and copy processes that run, you can go under where it says dashboard and then under updater. This is also where you control like how your integration with your accounting system works, assuming that you do have it integrated with a integrated accounting software. But anyway, we can already see here that the task that we just did to copy that budget, so it actually only took 2 seconds, but again, it puts it in a background queue just in case it takes a long time. But it copied it over. We can see that it was a success. So now if I go to my planner module, and if I go to my planner setup, I am going to, and it defaults me to 2025 because that's the budget year I have set. But I'll just go ahead and change that to 26 and hit load. And now I have this budget called 2026 budget. That's the copy I just created. Now, just one quick note. Earlier when I set up, earlier when I, or when I mean early, when I say earlier, I meant like 10 seconds ago. When I clicked into Planner Setup, it took me to my 2025 budgets, which I may no longer care about. If you want to set the default budget year that you're working in, you can go under where it says Set Budget Year and say Set to 2026, because right now it's 2025. Okay. So pretty much what that should do is if I click on Planner Setup now, it takes me to 2026. So again, small optimization, but just an FYI. All right. So I'm still watching the chat, so feel free to let me know in the chat if you have any questions. But what I want to do now is I want to do active work in this budget. So I'm going to check this box to the left for 2026 budget, the new one I just created. And when I check a box, it's going to open up this area below here that allows me to perform any one of these actions on the budget. So I can make another copy of the budget. I can delete a budget. I can lock, unlock worksheets, things like that. I'm just going to go ahead and click on where it says Set as Planner. So again, what it's going to do is it's going to pretty much mark this budget as the default one that you are to be working on. All right. So we can see here that there are 6 worksheets on this budget. We have 4 for the general fund for these various departments, and then we have some worksheets for these subsidiary funds, entities, whatever you'd like to call them. All right. Let's go ahead and go under worksheet management here now. We're just going to do a quick review here to figure out, do we need to add any more worksheets? And B, what are the various owners and approvers that we want to add here? Now, pretty much you can think of worksheets again, and I'm trying to use terminology and as I go through this to accommodate for maybe people who are newer at Martus. But worksheets in the context of Martus, you can think of these as tabs on an Excel workbook. So each one of these tabs represents, or each one of these worksheets represents an area where we budget for like the general fund and operations function. So yeah, this column is fund, this column is function. And then I have another worksheet where I'm budgeting for the general fund, marketing department function, general fund, fundraising function, general accounting function, so on and so forth. So this is a great place for you to go in and say, oh, hey, I no longer am going to, let's just say I no longer, I mean, you'd want to account for this if you have it as a department, but let's just say I don't want to budget for accounting this time around. Maybe accounting has been, maybe that's an older department that we've then merged into another department or something like that. But I'm going to go ahead and select that and say, I want to delete this worksheet. Okay. So that worksheet is gone. I no longer have a worksheet for accounting, so I'm not budgeting for the accounting department anymore. But I do want to add a new worksheet. And I want to say, I want to budget for the general fund. And maybe well, actually, that as a matter of fact, this appears to be the way that this is structured in this environment. But accounting just gets rolled up into management in general. So I guess now that I say it, in this context, strictly speaking, you'd probably be fine budgeting for accounting and IT and all these places separately and then roll them up into M&G. But just for the sake of demonstration, I'll just select management in general as my function. And then I can say who the owner of this worksheet is. So this doesn't really drive a lot of business logic in the system. It's just like an FYI, like, hey, this is the person who is ultimately taking ownership of the results of this department. Okay. So I mark myself as the owner, but then another thing I can do is again, this is completely optional, but I can set people as approvers. So I can add my colleague Tom, who I have linked here in the demo environment, same as Jessica. So what you can do here with Martus is you could set up all these different approvers so that when you save a worksheet, people have to sign off on it before it gets approved and locked and things like that. Again, completely optional. You don't have to do any of those things, but they're there if you want to use them. All right. So in this worksheet management area, I got rid of an existing worksheet and I added a new one. All right. There's really nothing else really to cover here. We've created our new budget. We've assigned our worksheets and our approvers and things like that. So now what we can do, now we can actually go in and perform the action of doing budgeting. And we're sticking in the planner module here. So now we can go under planner where it says worksheets. All right. So this is going to have a big table of all of my various worksheets that I have in the system. Now in place of accounting here, I have one for management in general. And I can see here what the current budgeted kind of gain or loss is on a per department basis. And I can see that these are all open worksheets. As you submit these and as these get approved, you can see like which ones are currently in the approval process and which ones have been locked and approved and which ones are kind of still waiting for submission. So if you have a lot of different people operating in your organization, this worksheets area can be a great place to figure out, well, hey, what's the status of this, right? All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into kind of the core bit here that I wanted to get into. Like I mentioned before, you can think of each one of these worksheets in Martus as a tab in an Excel model that you built out for budgeting, that ultimately each tab gets rolled up into your final budget. Let's just go ahead and click on this pencil icon for one of these worksheets that we want to do work in. So we'll do that for the general fund, for the operations function department. I'll be using those terms interchangeably. Okay. So what this is going to do is this is going to pop open my worksheet for this department and this fund. And this is where I can go in and tweak my numbers and things like that. Now, notice here that all of these have already been populated with some numbers. That's because we made this new budget as a copy of the prior year budget. So we can kind of see here, January 2026, February 26, like all these upcoming months, they mirror the setup of the budget that it was copied from. So I have this 2025 budget right here, and I can make reference back to the notes and all these other things related to the prior year budget. All right. So Martus does give you some look back capabilities to figure out like, hey, for this line, what was it last year? But if I want to go in and change numbers here for like this contributions account, I can click on the little calculator icon and I can go in and this is where I can decide, do I want to budget things on a monthly basis? Do I want to budget on a weekly basis? There's a bunch of different methods here for adjustment types. I'm not going to bore you by going through each and every one of these because that's going to get kind of tedious, and there's like a 10 and 11 of them here. One thing that Martus is really good at, if you have curiosities or questions about something, they have these little blue tooltips right here that if you click on, it does a good job of detailing out what each one of these options does. So definitely if you're using Martus and you're curious about like, hey, how does this work? You can go in and click on one of those. But just to give you a quick example of how we could make some modifications here, everything on this line is a pure copy of the prior year budget. One thing you could do is you could use the adjustment type, and you can decide whether you want to increase values by a percentage or decrease values by a percentage. Let me go ahead. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, the way the syntax in which Martus works here is if you want to adjust something upwards or downwards, like in this case 5%, I would say adjust values by 105%. So this is pretty much just indicating, I want to take like 100%. I want to take 100% of what I started with and then add 5% onto it. So it's just a syntax thing to be aware of. Kind of same thing here. If I, whoops, I think by doing that, I kind of messed the formula up. But anyway, you can use the adjustment type, and I can say, beef it up 10%, or you can, have that be a starting point, and then you can tweak from there. What more clients will do though is, if they're not increasing things by a kind of like a blanket percentage on a year-to-year basis, they may also just come up with an annual amount that they think that they're going to hit. But they don't want to spend the time going month by month and calculating out everything by month. So one of the common adjustment types that clients will use is this annual adjustment type. And then you can say, I think for this line, it's just going to be $100,000 a year. And I can click on preview. And then it takes that $100,000 and spreads it evenly throughout the entire year. And, it'll do its penny rounding at the end. All right. And that's all I kind of have to say about adjustment types for now. Again, there's a tooltip right here that you can click on to access what they all do. But in addition to using this budget widget area to set your budget, you can also leave notes. And each note you can leave is a month-by-month thing. So if you want to take the same set of notes, if you want to take one set of notes and then copy it throughout the entire month, you can just type in what you want in this row right here, and then click on this little button right here to copy notes to the following months. And there we go. One thing I will do though is, let's just say in June of 2026, we're dealing with contributions right here. So let's just say you're envisioning that you're going to have a big fundraising event in June, and you're going to get a bunch of receipts from that, right? So for June 2026, I can alter the notes and say, fundraising event. All right. And there we go. So essentially, we click into this calculator icon, and we make our changes, and then we save. And now, we've gone in and adjusted the dollar amount for this. Okay. One other thing that I wanted to address is everything that we've been talking about here. Again, everything is a copy of the prior year budget. There may be instances where you want to budget for something new that isn't currently on the worksheet. So there's a new account that you hadn't budgeted for or used last year, but it's a new budget. It's a new line that you want to budget for. An end user, or if you're an admin, you can do this too. But an end user, if you give them the right permissions to do so, they can go under where it says line actions right here and say, I want to add a line. So I'm going to go ahead and add a line right here. And I'm going to say, I want a budget for, I'm going to have some income from a grant. So I'm going to go ahead and select where it says grant income right here. And I do have a secondary grant dimension that I can code things to. You might not have this option, but this is a demo environment, and my demo environment does. But let's just say I have a grant. I have some grant income, and I expect it to be this Claremont impact study, which I can then budget I can budget revenues and expenses against. All right. So my line is added, and now I see my line here for my Claremont impact study. And if I click on the drop down here for the reference data, there's nothing, which pretty much indicates like this is a brand new thing. There wasn't any activity in prior years or prior budgets for this. So, it's completely brand new. All right. I could go in and I could go into the calculator icon here and do some just plain dollars budgeting for this. But one feature that I really like to talk about, and again, you may already be familiar with this, but I like to talk about it so much that I'll address it anyway. There is a feature inside of Martus called they're called special purpose worksheets. So what they pretty much are these subsidiary worksheets or spreadsheets, whatever you want to call them. They're like these subsidiary sheets where you can go in and kind of create your own custom rows that are just, that just hold values, and you can build formulas to do some like assumption times rate type of budgeting, or what some people, I believe, the common terminology would be like driver-based budgeting. Let me give you an example of how that may look. And this is a super simple example, and you can get pretty fancy here, but in this special purpose worksheet, I am budgeting out pretty much software costs, license fees, based on the rate of how much each software seat costs. So each license cost is this. And then how many people, how many seats, how many users that we expect to have for this software. And ultimately, you can calculate the fees that you expect to pay by taking software seats times, or software seat rate times the software seats. So this is just a simple example here. I just have this basic line that says software seat rate, and I just punched in these values right here. And I can change the values by going into this values area here. And, same thing for software seats. I go in, I create a line that says software seats. And in the values area here, I say, January through, for each individual month, I say this is how many seats we're expecting to have. One thing I want to know, I'm not going to change this, but you may be asking yourself, well, hey, or you may be thinking like, hey, this would be super useful, but can we kind of automate automate some of this driver-based budgeting? So we can take, let's just say, our actuals of this account and multiply it by like 30% or something like that. Good example of this would be in some organizations, the way they budget is they like to budget for their cost of goods based on like revenue. So take their total revenue times however many percent that they expect their cost of goods sold to be. So let's just say 50%. I know it's gonna vary wildly across industries there, but you take like $1 million, you're forecasting $1 million in revenue, and your assumption for cost of goods sold rate is 50%. So the system will automatically grab that $1 million from your revenue and then multiply it by 50% to come up with $500,000 in cost of goods sold. The way in which you can pull in like revenues and expenses and things that you can use for, in your calculations like this, you would use this thing called a reporting group. And for a reporting group, we can talk about those in a little bit because those are powerful elements of the system. But you can set up a reporting group. Like I have this one here for ops, so for operational costs, and I have one here for utilities. So, you can build as many reporting groups as you want. And reporting groups are essentially tools to grab balances, like account balances from certain expense accounts or revenue accounts and departments and things like that. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do there, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave this one alone. regardless of how you're grabbing your assumptions here, whether you're grabbing from actual balances from your general ledger or even statistical numbers, ultimately you can create these calculations. So in this case, I have this calculation called software seat fees, and I do check this box that says post a budget worksheet. And I can say, hey, I want whatever this calculates to post to my license fees expense account. And it's not going to be pertaining to any particular grant dimension. So I just left that as my 999 code. But in my values area, this is where I can set this up as a formula. The other examples that we talked about earlier were just hard-coded numbers using the budget widget. Or again, you can pull account balances by using this reporting group function. But in this formula area, you can pretty much, again, it works really similar to Excel when it comes to syntax. But I can take my software seat rate times, using the little asterisk symbol there, times software seats. Okay. And it's going to take those two rows and calculate them out. And you could add this area to show notes to then further leave, further leave notes here if you want to add some additional color to what's happening here. But in any case, all the stuff gets calculated with a special purpose worksheet. It then gets posted to the worksheet that you're working on. And then if I go back to my worksheet, it will show me a line that says license fees, and it calculates out all these numbers for me. Notice though, right now I'm clicking here. It's not letting me go in and just like change these numbers because they're coming from a calculation. And this is really helpful because when you're looking at your actual versus budget and you're trying to figure out like, hey, you're looking at a month in 2026 now in the future, you click on a budget row and figure out, hey, like we're way over or way under where we were when we budgeted. What's the deal with that? You can click on this little box on this row that says, if you hover over it, it says WSPW. So it stands for worksheet specific special purpose worksheet. So that's a mouthful. So they gave it an acronym. But if I click on this, it's going to take me back to that special purpose worksheet. And it has all of the assumptions and all these calculations that we use to arrive at this number. So this just offers another level of traceability and auditability to figure out, hey, I budgeted this. What were my assumptions behind this? Why did we, if we weren't on target with this, what did we miss? Did we miss the number of software seats we'd have? Did we have the rates messed up? There's a bunch of things we can glean from this. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking for a moment while I transition into something else. So again, I encourage you to post something in the chat if you have a question while I go and find something else to show you. Okay. All right, great. Again, I encourage you to pose any questions in the chat if you have them. I wanted to quickly talk about reporting groups because I think this is something I haven't really gotten into before on these. And I did just briefly touch on them for the special purpose worksheet area. But reporting groups are, like I was trying to say before, these are groupings of accounts and account segments and dimensions and things like that to determine like what parts of, to essentially pull in account balances. And these account balances can then be used in reports, they can be used in computations and your budgeting process. So pretty much, I am going to add a reporting group. And I'm going to call this reporting group all revenue. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and call this all revenue. And when I decide the name, I need to close this box right here. It's asking me in this reporting group items area, essentially like which funds do I want to grab data from, which functions do I want to grab data from, all my dimensions, all my account segments, and determine what do you all want to pull in here. Okay. So one thing I would probably do here is I would probably use an account category. I would probably set up an account category for revenues and assign that there. Um, Let me go ahead though and just under my accounts here, I'll just go ahead and say, give me my contributions, and then click on add. And then I'll go ahead and say 4115 as well. Okay. Again, I would probably set up an account category called revenue, so I could just say like revenue, and it would just pull in everything for revenue that has that category. But I didn't do that ahead of time, so I just chose a couple of my accounts here. All right, but essentially the point is that you create these reporting groups and then you assign these items, and these items are accounts or combinations of accounts and dimensions and things like that. By me leaving function and fund blank, it's pretty much saying that I want to see contributions across all departments, all funds, things like that. All right, let's just go ahead and save that. And let's go back into our I want to create a different type of special purpose worksheet, and this may take us to the end. But again, definitely feel free to interrupt me if you have a question. I won't feel interrupted. But I'm gonna, with this reporting group, I'm gonna go into special purpose worksheets. And instead of creating a special purpose worksheet that is specific to a particular like department or a particular department or particular um, fund or something like that, I'm going to go create what's called a global special purpose worksheet, which you can then use. Typically, admins will use this as an area where they kind of grab all their different things, that all the different balances that they want to allocate, and then allocate them out to the various worksheets, all the various departments. So this is a good way for admins to do all of these like allocation computations, like budget out rent. Rent is paid by the organization, but the budget admins can say, hey, this worksheet, this department gets 10%, this department gets 20%, stuff like that. But we'll just go ahead and say add new global SPW, and we'll just call this September 25. Just for my own edification, because I use this demo environment for a bunch of things. I'll just go ahead and label it with the webinar that I used it on. But anyway, just like with a regular special purpose worksheet, I can just go in here and say add a line. And I'll just go ahead and call this balances. And I'll just call this revenue balances. For my values, and fingers crossed, hopefully I get this to work the first time. For my values here, instead of going in and hand keying hard-coded numbers using the budget widget, I'm going to go ahead and use my reporting group that I created called all revenue. And there we go. So what this is doing is this is going out to all of my funds, all of my departments, and it's grabbing my revenues for this. And ultimately, it's calculating out that across all funds and all functions, the accounts that we're pulling into this reporting group have a balance of just a shade under $750,000. Okay. But I add this, and let's just say in this context, again, I'm just throwing some things out there to demonstrate this with an example, even if it's not maybe realistically relevant. But let's just say the way we budget for some of our costs would be we have our revenue that we expect to get, and we want to multiply this by a percentage to arrive at a new calculation, which will then serve as the cost for something. So I can pull in all my revenues here. I can add another line here that we'll just put it under rates. And we'll just call this, let's just make the assumption that our revenues in this case are all fundraising, let's just say. So we have our revenue that's derived mostly from fundraising, but I want to use this area as a means to calculate out what my fundraising cost might be. So I can say, I can call this my fundraising cost rate. And then for my values, I can just say, let's just say I'm going to do 0.3, and this should calculate out as 30% when everything is all said and done. All right. So I have my fundraising cost rate of 30%. That's me saying that for each dollar of money that we get, revenue that we get via fundraising, we're assuming 30 cents of cost per dollar. So this, again, these are just numbers I'm throwing out here. So I'm going to add another line here that says calculated fundraising cost. And I'm going to have this post to my budget worksheet. And I'm going to say, I'm going to post this to my fundraising function worksheet. And I'm not sure if there's a great cost. I'm trying to figure out if there's a great cost that, great expense account that will work here. Ooh, I'll do special events. I'll do special events because, there's if you're booking fundraising events, and I just said the word events, but you schedule these events, you're getting revenue from these events, you're going to have expenses with these events too. So we'll go ahead and post that to special events, and we'll just leave the grant unrelated. Okay. But in this values area here, we're going to go and set up a formula, and we're going to say, I want to take my fundraising cost rate, multiply it by my revenue balances, and that's going to calculate this out. Okay, so I think that looks fairly correct, kind of from a mental math perspective. So again, we have our fundraising cost rate of 30%. And the way I kind of structured these is they kind of look out of order, so I apologize. It's sorted based numerically, and I didn't put a number in front of this balances when I created, so it appears at the bottom. But it's taking my fundraising cost rate, 30%, multiply it by the revenue that I expect to get in that month, and that's calculating out a 30% fundraising cost. But of course, I can go in here and say, hey, instead of 30%, what do things look like if I'm scheduling out? We'll just do 40%. 40% and save. Okay. So it updates all my calculations here, and every time I save, it's refreshing everything, and it's updating any subsidiary calculations that may be happening. Just for fun, we do see June here. As June, we expect to get, let's just say there's an extra large event in June. Maybe as part of that event, that it's going to carry a higher rate. So in June 26, let's just say it's going to be 50% instead. And we can say we expect the big fundraising event to be more expensive. Of course, you would probably want to offer more detail than that, but I save that, and then all of these numbers get updated. All that happens. And then, again, if I click on post to worksheets, that's the action of me pushing this out to all the worksheets that we're having it post to. So this single global special purpose worksheet can post out to a whole bunch of worksheets, a whole bunch of different departments. But in this case, I just have it posting to the fundraising function worksheet. But if I go to my worksheets here, again, this is kind of retracing my steps from earlier. If I go and look at whether I'm doing active budgeting or if I'm doing reporting in the future, I go into my fundraising department budget here, and I'm going to see there is a line here that populates for special events, and I can't change the numbers on this because it's going to take me back to this special purpose worksheet where all these assumptions are. So anyway, there's a lot of power in using reporting groups and special purpose worksheets to grab balances and do all these computations to arrive at more of a driver-based budgeting concept than just entering in, hey, I think we're going to get $75,000 from this event. This actually shows kind of the inputs of your assumptions, and then when you're doing your actual versus budget and your analysis in the future, you can figure out where my assumptions off, what's all going on there. All right. Well, I've been talking a while here. I've not seen any questions come in the chat, which is perfectly fine. I had a whole bunch of stuff to cover. We are scheduled only for 5 more minutes. More or less, I pretty much covered everything I wanted to cover. For those of you on the call, if you had any questions, now would be the best time to ask because we are close to the end of the hour. So I'll go ahead and stop talking for a moment here to see if any questions come in. Just wanted to thank you all for your attendance today. Appreciate you all joining. There is going to be a recording of this uploaded and sent out, so keep an eye out for that. That's everything I had. So, as you depart, I will be staying on probably for a few minutes to see if there are any more questions, but that's really all I had. So thank you all and have a great day.